Hello everyone and welcome to the 2026 Mazda 3 Sedan Turbo Premium Plus. Now this is a special vehicle on the channel. If you haven't checked out our tour and review of this car, this is the first press vehicle we had over at Allcarnews way back in 2022. So this is great to kind of get into it again. I really love this vehicle. I prefer the hatchback form personally just a little bit more, but it's still just so fantastic. We have the turbocharged 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine under the hood, 250 horsepower, 320 torque. Really impressive figures when you're running premium fuel. A very, very well fine-tailored kind of suit feeling style cabin. It's really fantastic in here. Really nice trimming. All of the materials are super solid. It feels very Germanic in that way, in a good way, in the olden days, not like some of their current products today, which is I really appreciate. We have a lot of physical buttons in here for sport mode that kind of just puts sport on the dash there. I wish it did the red animations that some other Mazdas have, but we don't got that here, unfortunately. But we do get a great 360 camera system and a really great system for the highway. Full radar adaptive cruise control with steering assist, lane centering assist, that feature there, which I really appreciate. Traction can be turned off as well in the vehicle, which is really nice. And let's head off. This car is a torque monster. Every time you let off the throttle, you really get like this aggression through the powertrain, which I actually really like, specifically in sport mode as we have it in right now. And the torque, you really do feel it. It's quite intense. You get that thrusting feeling back into your seat with that 320 pound-feet of torque. Of course, we have all-wheel drive in the vehicle, and I love the turbo whooshes that you actually still are able to hear from under the hood there, which I actually really appreciate quite a lot. Grip is really strong in this vehicle as well. So we come behind this truck over here, we'll pop our traction control back on and take it out of sport mode just so we can kind of see the daily driving experience on these side roads here. This is a pothole ridden road. I might have to do some actually precise navigating around the potholes, but the suspension definitely is on the firmer side of things. Mazda sets up their vehicles to be more driver focused, so that means a little bit more of a stiffer suspension setup for better body control. So you do feel that just a little bit, but it's still rather well damped out at the top end of it, which I quite like. Not as soft as some competitors. Ooh, there's a big one there in this segment, but I think it's generally really fine for day-to-day usage. We have our heartbeat pulsing turn signals still in the Mazdas. And the steering in this car is just one of my favorite aspects of it. The weight that Mazda puts into their steering racks is just really nice, and the feel of it. The steering wheel itself is super comfy to hold. Yes, the only sides heat up when you have the heating turned on, but it just feels so nice to hold. The thin spokes, the perfect diameter of the wheel sides. They really kind of thought about all of this, as they did with the driving position of this vehicle. I love the driving position in this car. It's not too high like a lot of competitors are. It's right at that perfect level, and you have a lot of adjustment there between all of these components, which is really nice. Still, we have a manual steering column there, but I actually like that. It's quite easy to adjust. But as I mentioned, steering is great in this car. You actually get some feedback from the front wheels. I could actually feel what's going on the front end of the car, which is rare, I would say, in a lot of vehicles here. Like, I can feel through the steering wheel that there's a bump happening. I could feel the road surface through the wheels, through the steering wheel just a little bit. And you know, some people may not like that. I do. So that may be a trade-off for you. You may want to not go for this car for that reason, but if you want that more connected experience, the Mazda 3 still does offer that, which is great. Even with all-wheel drive in this particular one, you still have that connected experience. It definitely prioritizes the front wheels in most situations, but you know, in some more aggressive areas, if you're doing a harder traction launch, if you're in some rough weather, it will send more power to the rear. But if you do try to launch it, it will spin those front tires. that is for sure. If you pop off traction control and do try to launch it a little bit, you will hear some tire chirp there, which is great. We also get Mazda's G-vectoring control in the vehicle, which kind of uses the traction control, I believe the steering position sensor, throttle position, all of that to help kind of do a sort of brake style torque vectoring system throughout the vehicle as well, which is really great around corners. helps you get a little bit more of a tighter turn in. Brakes are good. I've always said Mazdas have a little bit of a more squishier, or not really squishy, but a little bit of a longer brake travel than some other vehicles, but this one feels pretty firm. I'm not sure if that's been changed since 2022. The traction coming out of a corner is really good. You got a lot of grip. You do feel a little bit of some lag a little bit when you're kind of flooring it, trying to get out of a corner. It takes a little bit for that turbo to spool up just a bit, but once you're in the power band here, this thing just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling. It's actually pretty impressive. And as once we get onto the highway in just a second here, you'll see even in, like, you know, third, fourth gear, you kind of feel that pulling sensation between 2,000-3,000 RPM there. It's actually really quite nice with all that torque that this engine produces. Now we also have some great just daily features as well, such as auto brake hold, which is right next to your thumb here. So if you're someone who keeps your arm in this area, which in this car it's really great to do, very easy to do, because this whole area is so accessible and close to the steering wheel, which I love how Mazda does. I think they planned that out for the manual models of this 3 Series, Mazda 3, which they do still offer, not in the turbo. But auto brake hold works really well. You just have to turn it on every single time you get into the vehicle. And controlling these screens are pretty easy. We have our Mazda drive wheel here, so you can see Apple CarPlay. It's pretty quick and easy to use, but in Apple CarPlay, you can also use it as a touchscreen if you would like. You do just have to do a little bit of a reach. You can go home really quickly by holding the home button down as well. And I like how all these hotkeys work with Apple CarPlay. So if I press my maps, it takes me to whatever map I'm using in Apple CarPlay. Same thing with my music system here. I'm using Apple Music, for example. It'll take me to Apple Music and not the Mazda built-in radio system. Our blind spot warning there shows up in our dash and our heads-up display, which is really nice. Pop it back into sport mode here as we are heading out onto the highway. We'll get a little bit of a test of our paddle shifters as well. Definitely in sport mode, you'll notice that the throttle tuning is much more sensitive than in the regular modes. You can hear that boost is almost like more available in some cases here, which is quite nice. Transmission stays in some lower gears. We'll pop it into manual mode here. We can shift down here or via paddles. Second gear. Whoa! You definitely get a kind of old school style kind of turbo rush that happens when you are accelerating. We'll do another little acceleration here. Drop down to third gear. There it is. Now this is not a high revving engine, but again, it has like this diesel levels of just torque and power out of it. It's really quite satisfying actually, and fun to play around with. And this shifter here just feels so nice. Again, you can get a manual without this engine, I believe, still. It's front wheel drive only, but how this car is set up feels like that. You even have your volume stuff over here on this side, so if you need to be shifting, you can still make adjustments, which is kind of funny. But on the highway here, we do have some really great features in the specific Turbo Premium Plus trim. I believe you have like Amazon Alexa integration and all of that stuff if you do choose to use that. I personally don't, but for our driver assistance systems, like I mentioned, we have blind spot, all of the great cameras and other stuff here. But what's really nice is we have a good solid radar adaptive cruise control, easy to turn on. I press the right button here, set my speed. That is all set up and good to go, which is great. And now all I have to do is press this little steering wheel icon with lanes right here. And now we have steering and lane centering assist. So this is a step above lane keep assist, where it just tries to keep you between the two lane lines and kind of, you know, it'll verge out of the lane, bump you back in, bump you back in. This always maintains that center position of the lane at all times by steering you around the corner. It's not a hands-free system, but it's pretty close. If it had the sensor, I'm pretty sure it could possibly do that. Actually, it's a really reliable steering style system here, and I love the little icons that Mazda gives you here. You have a little Mazda 3 and a Mazda 3 hatchback as the following distance car in the distance, which is quite cool as well. And you can have a few different following adjustments there. And I like how all of this information is displayed in our heads-up display. And you even have that little Mazda 3 in the heads-up display as well. I can see it from here, which is pretty cool. And if I wanted to, I can get rid of that display there and have it just focused in my heads-up display, which is quite nice. Or as Mazda calls it, their active driving display. And in this cabin here, it's generally pretty quiet on the highway. I can close up this to maybe reduce wind noise above us a little bit. You know, this class of vehicle isn't typically the quietest interior class, but out of all of the competitors I've experienced in this class so far in the past year, which has been quite a lot. You know, we're talking about the Subaru Impreza or the Nissan Sentra or the Kia K4. This is definitely the quietest. It's probably the most refined as well overall. That's why we always really feel this car does step above its weight limit just a little bit, because it feels like that, especially in this cabin. There's a little bit more sound deadening in here on the road side of this, so like on the underfloor areas and the wheel arches, it feels quieter than those vehicles. Still, I would say a little bit same amounts of wind noise in the upper level, definitely reduced, a little more muted, but nothing too loud in here, which is quite nice, which makes road trips or commuting to work a lot easier. The only downside I would say with this car, and it may not be a downside to you, but fuel economy, fuel tank size is not the best. When we got this vehicle, it had maximum full tank, like 250, 300 miles of range in that range. So in that case, an EV may have more range in some cases these days. And you really want to think about range anxiety. This car doesn't have the most amount of range, but if you are babying it, I'm sure you can get a little more over 300. But I've been averaging around, I think, 25.4 mpg over the course of this week of testing here. So not actually the worst. I've gotten worse fuel economy out of this engine than other Mazda products. So this is more of the efficient application of it. And we have a full fuel efficiency monitor here at 22 mpg on our current drive here. We haven't been super fuel efficient in this particular occasion, I can say. We'll do a quick audio test here. We have 2 volume knobs in here, a nice physical one down here and on our steering wheel. This Bose audio system, the premium audio system, is fantastic. I mean, probably the best audio system in this class of vehicle. Actually, it is the best audio system in this class of vehicle. It's absolutely fantastic. We'll have a quick little listen to it, and we'll see if we can hop into adjustments in a second here. Quick little listen to our Bose audio system here. I've always been a huge fan of this system. It doesn't wash out at the higher end audio levels. It has a consistent, bass level, treble level is pretty good as well, and the surround sound experience is really adjustable in here. As you can see, we have bass treble adjustment as well as our fader balance, but then we can adjust our center point, which is that spatial kind of surround sound audio experience here. You have a few different levels, or you can put it in as different stereo modes as well. It's always been great. I always recommend, if you're able to upgrade to this system in a Mazda, do it. You will not be disappointed, and it is an upgrade over the entry-level system. Nonetheless, though, this is a little bit of a bittersweet review for us, because it almost feels like I believe this car may not be around for too much longer, and potentially this engine may not be around for too much longer. We're seeing in the new CX-5, it just launched without the turbo so far. I haven't haven't heard anything as of yet if that turbo is coming back. I believe it's going straight to a hybrid system of their own in-house design coming soon. And Mazda hasn't really, given the 3 that much love over its lifetime, and which isn't necessary, I would say. It's a great car, but to keep up with the times, to be on edge of all the technology, they haven't done that, as we've seen in some other models here and there. But I would hope this vehicle would still stay around. I think it's fantastic. We need more affordable cars here in the United States, and I think if this got a nice, proper, solid refresh, both it and the hatchback, I really do think it would be a really hot commodity. And not that to say there's anything wrong with this one, but I know buyers in this market, they like to have their latest tech and stuff, but that could mean we go away with this fantastic infotainment system that I personally love and go to a giant touchscreen. I don't really know, but we're just hoping that this vehicle stays around, because if not, it is a great buy. Definitely recommend looking at this car. You don't have to go for the turbo. There's a lot of great other entry-level variants of the Mazda 3, both in sedan and hatchback form, in front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, non-turbo, turbo, even a 6-speed manual option if you do choose to get that as well. But enough of me ranting on my love affair of Mazdas here, but definitely go check out this vehicle. It is worth a look at. You won't be disappointed. Maybe on a little bit of a smaller side, but it's one heck of a vehicle. Thanks again for watching another full tour review over at Allcarnews, and as always, stay tuned for more coming soon. Cheers.